That's a tough one. Oh, wait, what's this? Oh, plantain. You know what, since it's right here, I'm just gonna talk about plantain because it really is the most versatile herb. This I always loved plantain, but this last summer, I just really, really loved plantain because I had this one month in July where I got stung probably like 14 times in a month. Like it just seemed like each week I'd like one sting would start healing, then the next one would come on, and then I'd get stung again. And every time, plantain was there for me. I would look at the ground every time I got stung. I would even make a point of just like, I bet I don't even have to take a step and I can get some plantain. I'd get stung, I'd be like, ugh. So you didn't have to take a step, I found some. Because it's really that prolific of an herb, and that's when herbs that are versatile, that are super prolific, those are the best herbs to have around. And so that's what's really cool about plantain, is because it loves to grow where people walk, where people step. It's like, it likes people, it likes to be around people. It's a very social plant. And the reason that is it seems to grow in this really like hard, compact dirt where people are stomping on and stepping on, the dirt gets all hard and compact. And if you know anything a little bit about soil biology and soil science, like in general, you don't like hard, compact dirt because most plants have trouble extracting nutrients, sucking out water from there. It's just like too hard and compact. But for whatever reason, plantain has adapted this amazing ability to really derive nutrition from these like super compact soils. And in that way, its ability to draw nutrition out of the soil that's so hard and compact is how I see it really working on the body, especially for these stings, for instance. So think, if I had a stinging insect come and land on me, what is the first thing I want to do? Well, I want to draw out that poison. I want to draw out that venom. And so that's where plantain really works as that first initial defense against getting stung. So what we do with this is we can make a poultice with it. So when I would get stung, so let's say I got stung here on my hand. So one way we can make a poultice is we could take this leaf, we could mash it up in some water, chop it up, do it that way. But really my favorite way to work with plantain is just pop it in your mouth and start chewing it up. And so this is what we call a spit poultice. And so some of you may be thinking like, oh, if I got a cut or a scrape or a sting, like I wouldn't want to put saliva on there because saliva's got germs in it. Actually, what's really interesting about saliva, it actually has a lot of immune cells in it. It's a very healing thing. So it has IgE, IgA, and different immunoglobulins that have to actually, and also inoculates the area with your own internal mouth microbiome. So if you clean and sterilize a wound, then you apply a spit poultice to that area. So with plantain, the reason it's good for stings and scrapes is it has this drawing effect. So it's going to help to draw out that poison or the venom or whatever in the same kind of way that clay does, as this drawing effect. And so one way it does this is through it's being astringent. It has tannins in it. And so those of you might not be familiar with astringents. You ever like eat a green banana and it kind of dries out your mouth, or like you let your green tea steep for too long, you drink it and it dries out your mouth, or you have some red wine and it gives you that kind of like dry feeling on your tongue. Those are the tannins. So what tannins do is they dry, draw, and shrink swollen tissues. So you think when you get stung, it becomes this hot, inflamed tissue. And so when you have an astringent on there, it's going to help to like shrink down that swollen tissue. It's going to help to draw out whatever infected material is in there, or venom, or whatever is in that area. And it's going to kind of help to knit the proteins together too. So if you have a cut or a scrape, it can actually help to knit the proteins together. And so if I have it here on my hand, we can see how this effect is really good for all kinds of membranes and tissues to help kind of tonify them. So if we have like kind of loose, flabby, flaccid skin, whether it's like external or internal skin, we can use plantain to kind of help draw, tighten up like kind of looser, flabbier tissues so they have better tone, better function. And then it also has this demulcent effect. So it has this little bit of mucilage in there that helps give it this little bit of moisture, because a lot of astringents, they tend to be drying, but plantain's amazing in the fact it has a little bit of mucilage in it that actually adds this like nice moistening effect. So it's drawing out, shrinking the swollen tissue, but also making sure it's nice and moist and lubricated, bringing down the inflammation. So it's got this kind of dual nature of moistening and drying at the same time, which makes it really cool. And so as the way it's like a tonic for membranes, like I really love it as like a chewing herb, just like something like chew in your mouth, because that astringent effect is really good for like tonifying the gums in the teeth. And that drawing effect, if we have like gingivitis, or maybe we had like a root canal and we got kind of swollen gums and like puffy gums, and there's like maybe infected material in there, the plantain can help to draw out that infected material, help to bring down the inflammation, have this antimicrobial disinfectant effect, and to help tonify the membranes of the mouth, that kind of areas, to help make sure they're taut and tight and don't bleed easy. It's good for bleeding gums and things like that. And so we can also think, so it has this like action on the skin, like we were saying about having that way, so we can like, use it for drawing other things. Like we have acne, you can draw a pimple up to head. If you just have like a red spot, you want to draw it up to head. Or if you have a pustule or a boil or a cyst that you're trying to drain and pull out the infected material, like lay a little plantain on there, just suck it right out, have this gentle antimicrobial effect. But we have to realize it also has this effect on the internal skin, which is really showing its versatility. So all these effects where it's working on the outside of the skin to help heal, tighten, add some moisture in there, has that effect on the inner lining of our gut, for instance. So if we have things like intestinal permeability, leaky gut, symptoms like that, actually can help to repair the inner lining of the gut and decrease permeability, add that little bit of moisture to help support the mucous membranes that protect the inner lining of the gut to stop things from leaking out. And it also seems to have a bit of this effect on the lungs as well. I know some people use it as well as for pulling like things like dust particles, or really like, kind of dust, or like, if you've ever like had to like tear apart a house and you're tearing up the wall and the insulation falls out and you get all the like fiberglass and you're inhaling all that nastiness and you're just like, oh God, just want to pull this out, like little plantain with like a nice lung herb like mullein, like that really helps to like add that mucilage and like cough up all that nastiness. They work really good pair for working out that kind of lung stuff. So as you can see, plantain is working on many different systems. It pretty much works on all the membranes. It's both moistening and drying. It has that dual action, so it's kind of versatile in that way. It's kind of good for a lot of different types of skin tissue areas. Has like affinity for the internal of the GI tract, as well as the lungs, the mouth, anywhere on the external skin. It's just so versatile in that way, and it's so prolific. I just can't think of like another herb that has so much versatility to it. Oh, another thing I have to mention too is, so when you get that sting, I was telling you initially for like pulling out the venom, but like the worst part is like the itching, the horrible itching. You get stung by a wasp and your arm gets inflamed, you get super itchy. Well, you think like, okay, so it has that, there's astringents in there, so they help to kind of shrink and tighten the tissues, and that helps to really bring down the inflammation, as well as it helps with the itching. It can relieve itching for hours, which is absolutely amazing. So you get poison oak, you get bites, you get stings. Anything that's itchy, dry, swollen tissue is going to help to like shrink that swollen tissue and help to relieve itching for hours, which if you've ever been really itchy, it's not fun. So plantain's great. Wow, so I guess also want to mention one thing is a lot of us may have plantain in our history since it's such a common plant. One thing I was interested, they had a new book come out called Ashkenazi Herbalism. And so I have Ashkenazi roots that go back to Russia on the Jewish side of my family. And it was a really common plant that was used in the Jewish communities back then. And it was, a lot of the healers of that time were feldshares, which were these essentially military surgeons. Like, you know, they're like basically military paramedics doing surgery on field, and they were working with various different herbs. And you can see how these different effects of plantain, of its ability to heal wounds, to disinfect, to pull out infected material, how, you know, these people who were, these Jewish people were fighting for the Russian army and got these skills working in the field, came back and went to serve their communities and had like access to this like plant that now has come to North America, which we do have some North American species of it as well. But this one here is our European one. So this is a Plantago Major, which is our broadleaf plantain. So it has a much broader leaf. There's also a lance leaf plantain that has a thin linear shape like a lance. Soon we will see, oh, we can see an old desiccated flower here. So we have a couple little desiccated ones. They're pretty small, but they always remind me a little bit of like a rattlesnake's tail. Is like, I like to think of it that way. It's like this kind of like, this one's a little faded, but it was like this kind of clump of seeds, and it's kind of like, and then you got this little kind of snaky head, and he's like, so I think of it as a snake medicine is a really cool way to think of it, because you think like if you got bit by a snake, plantain might be one of the first things you reach for to actually get out that venom. So some folks refer to it as a snake medicine, and I like it with that little like rattly looking tail and that kind of snaky looking head through the grass. And even the lance leaf, you know, this one's a little more cobra-like, or like a copperhead, I don't know, a little diamondback with the head shape. So I hope I've given you more than enough reasons to work with plantain, and hope you've got a little bit of idea why it's so versatile and why it's my favorite plant, and one I use a lot. So thank you.